Now that I'm on the West Coaster guys theme, it's interesting to start this crap at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. I can't believe you guys do this.
I can't either. I don't even know how I'm awake right now.
Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. We just recorded the lost episode.
which, if anybody is going to watch that, it was the best 20 minutes of your life. Okay.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why we're wearing the same clothes the week after, it didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Hey Bill, what's up, dude? You have not said anything.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I've just been enthralled at all of the lost episode conversation. I mean, damn. You have Blippy and Pee Wee Herman and all of that stuff. Man, hey, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, oh my God.
Just think about all the intertwining of IoT into that, Bill. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we did end
paradoxes more.
We did end the last episode asking for a $90 million donation, and it would get us about 1,800 miles of fiber into somewhere for 90 mil. I'm just saying, a lot of people live. If we pick an 1,800 mile stretch of land. Right. And we could probably recommend who's going to, dig the trenches and, pull the fiber. We probably know.
And then think about it. David, you're on hit, dude. Think about it. Elevate Our Kids. By the way, people, donate to elevateourkids.org. It's a good thing. Especially Blippy. Especially Blippy, because the whole program is about the digital divide and providing connectivity and devices, consumption devices, Blippy, for for kids K through 12, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I think Blippy's captive audience is between the ages of 3 years old and maybe 7 or 8, maybe 10. Who knows? This is perfect, Blippy. You got to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely up to 5 or 7 is what, according to Wikipedia, is up to 5 years old is for Blippy, and that's about right.
Not that, Blippy.
Yeah.
You can reach a whole new audience. It's, in the
17 million subscribers and 14 billion total views.
No, that's only half of what we get. So whatever.
Yeah. Try to keep with us. Get it. Forget about it.
If he wanted to be an influencer, he really would do this. So.
Oh yeah, think about it. This would be like the greatest thing in the world. And then not only that, on the coattails of that action, we could pull through IoT with all that dinero that this dude makes. Come on.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I just need to whine for a little bit. I just went through a grueling month of July where round the clock I was writing code day, night, every weekend. Yeah, like crazy stuff. To get off an old system and have a replacement system in place, that's mobile friendly. And so, yes, I've been writing crazy code night and day, and but it's been lots of fun.
For what?
So
Red Bison project?
Yeah. So the company I work for, Red Bison, does networks and commercial buildings and edge computing and do some IoT stuff. But one of the things we do is, you start with bringing like 10 gigabit circuit into a commercial building. It could be an office or multifamily or whatever, could be a factory. Then the next step is putting that network throughout the building, all the wiring, Wi-Fi access points, maybe do pass point to do in-building cellular talk over Wi-Fi, that kind of thing. But you have tenants who move in, and, typically if you're a tenant in a building, you've got to call up CenturyLink, Lumen, AT&T, somebody like that. Lots of people forget we always talk about wireless, but remember, all these guys do wired too. And that's still a big business. And so they would call that organization to bring in high-speed internet. They might say, I need, symmetrical 1 gigabit, up and down for my office or whatever, or I need 150 megabit Wi-Fi. So what we've did is, what if instead when you move into, if you sell the 10 gig, the 10G, as Xfinity's calling it, to the building owner, then the tenant, when they move in, instead of them having to jump through hoops to get stuff into their tenant, their office, what if you had an internal portal, like an e-commerce website, where inside the building you can go and say, yes, I want this, this, and this, and check out and auto pay me and everything. So that's what I built. And so that's what I spent the month of July working around the clock to have that up and running, so that new tenants and buildings can choose an option and do the recurring payments. I'm using Stripe for the e-commerce payment stuff like that.
Rob, now that you've told people that you spent a month working and you've delivered what sounds like a deployable, usable solution, what the hell are you going to do the rest of the summer?
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to do what I thought I'd be doing in the summer, which is vacationing or being on a yacht somewhere in the Caribbean, or I don't know.
Well, you've been programming from other remote locations the last month. Don't let anybody out there think that he hasn't been traveling around to really exotic locations and programming.
Normally, I would be in exotic land, but instead I've been here at the house. Also, have you noticed that all these co-working places went out of business during COVID?
Or they're charging gazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like I was trying here in Santa Monica to go to WeWork, and I'm like, listen, I just need it for a week or two. Are you seriously? Yeah. I'm not spending that kind of money.
Yeah. Right.
WeWork still around?
What? Yeah, they're
WeWork
still around. They're still around. WeWork's still around. Yeah.
Dude, Adam Newman still needs diesel on that big ship of his. So yes, WeWork's still around.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
So Rob, how do I get a router and stuff off of this? Am I getting that off the portal as well?
You could.
So the service is one thing; it's the hardware piece. Who's going to do it? So you go on there, and I can. Am I buying my router from you, or am I at least renting?
In the future, we might do stuff like that. Right now, it's just providing services to end users, to tenants themselves. And so they just get the service.
So what are you doing? You're demarking into what, my coax line in my apartment?
Yeah. So our people, the Red Bison engineers, the company's mostly made up of network engineers, but also we work with, for doing a lot of deployment. Have you heard of the organization called Simplify?
Yeah, sure.
And so they do deployment. That's wounded veterans who started that organization, and so we use them a lot to deploy networks throughout buildings and stuff like that. And so, part of it is, step one, let us know you want this thing and how you can pay for it. Step two is that, well, you guys are all telecom people, OSS, BSS. Let me put it in terms you can understand. So sometimes automagic things can happen to provision things, and other times the automagic part is notifying an engineer who has to actually do stuff themselves, to put stuff out there, to do switches, run cabling, all that kind of stuff. The world's really different than people realize. We live in this wireless world all the time, and I don't know if people realize what's kind of behind the scenes everywhere.
Nobody knows. Yeah. Wireless is not wireless, people.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the new forecasts coming out for semiconductors, wireless, I mean, there's a lot of spend, but that also is cost. So the infrastructure is much more costly to deploy for what you get. But it's just the nature of the modality of connectivity.
I'm going to drop off before someone says monetizing.
Say something. No, I'm not going to say that.
Monetization.
Any last words, dude? Before you jump off?
Yes. You know what, folks, be well, keep reading, read things that you may not agree with to get a different view. and, be respectful of your kind human. And Blippy, we know you're listening to this. 1,800 miles of fiber into rural America, the geography of your choice, for 90 million. This is what you should be doing. ElevateOurKids.com, buddy. Just do it. And with that, my peoples, carry on. I will see you next week.
All right. Hey, good seeing you, Dave. He's really good at doing that.
He is. We need to let him end the shows or end the 20-minute segments. Exactly.
Yeah. So, Mr. Brummer, speaking of like marketplaces where you can order things like I just built, what's going on with your marketplace?
I thought we weren't doing commercial things here.
Well, we just kind of accidentally did with my. So we might as well just blow the whole deal and let's go commercial with your thing.
Yeah, IoTCenterStore.com. It'll be probably live, within weeks. I'm finishing out the merchant services crap, as you know. I went authorized.net instead of Stripe, so it's a little different the way that's set up because I'm expecting huge volumes. So far the applications, third-party application guys are coming in. Wanting to be a part of it too. So trying to figure out how to automate and get that done. So it's a challenge. I mean, I as I told you guys before, I've never done a e-commerce site in my life, learning so many things on the fly has been crazy. I mean, things that I never thought I would have a need for. Right. So, But so far it's still been well received, Rob, in the sense that people want to be able to go buy stuff for restaurants or for an apartment building. They want to put door and window sensors. They want to do temperature sensors and leak sensors. I was going to simply be able to get Wi-Fi or LoRaWAN sensors without having to go get sold. I was at Best Buy yesterday here in LA and in Santa Monica, and I'm like going. Remember how they used to have that home automation section with the Hughes Phillips lighting and all that other stuff? They don't even have that shit anymore. It's so where do you go buy these things except Amazon?
Even Home Depot. They used to have that whole smart.
Best Buy. I mean, Bed Bath & Beyond did too for a while.
Yeah. Well, but they thought that I think the majority of consumers thought that a lot of this stuff was plug and play. Right? And I mean, you really get down to the question of, well, I have Wi-Fi. Do you? 802.11 what?
Right. And Apple.
And what's compatible with what?
Right. What's an Apple Home Kit? What the hell? Am I buying a kit or am I
buying a kit with screwdrivers?
Yeah. But when
the Best Buy guys tell you go on to Alipay or something like that if you want to find your IoT gear.
Come on. Here's the thing: we have to recognize the level of sophistication of the consumer, but also the sellers. We had people at Best Buy's. Basically representing Android phones as iPhones. So
that's right.
I used to have friends say, "Hey, look, I got an iPhone." I was like, "No, that's not an iPhone. That's a Android. What do they call it?
Off.
Yeah. And she goes, "This isn't an iPhone." I was like, "No, it's not. iPhone's by Apple." But they told me it was an iPhone.
Yeah, I had a contract.
That's how they made the market actually very early on.
Yeah.
It's like basically telling everyone, "Oh, it's an iPhone," and it's not an iPhone; it was Android.
I used to tell my consumer customers like Apple and Best Buy and 47th Street Photo and all these other guys, to be an educated consumer, go to an iPhone store, an Apple store, and go over to the home automation section over there and ask one of the kids in a T-shirt what this shit is. Like, how does it work? How do you set it up and everything else like that? They have no idea. I mean, it was just horrible customer service. I mean, there was one Christmas holiday I was in the Apple store with the family, and they were looking at all kinds of stuff with all the 85,000 people that were in the store. And I went over to the, for some reason, my body moves over to the home automation stuff. I have no idea why that happens. And I walked over there, and I sold more IoT sensors and home automation stuff for the Apple guy. He comes over to me. He goes, "Who the hell are you?" And I said, "I have a contract with Apple to help teach you." Train the trainer on how to sell this stuff. And the guy was looking at me, he goes, "Well, can you hang out for like the next couple of days?" I'm like, "You can't afford me to."
Yeah. I had that happen on 2 occasions, but then most of the time I try to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Wow. Exactly. But you're like, you got to go, "Oh my God, you're an idiot. I got to help you. I got to help you." You know, it's like, it's inbred in us to be able to have to help these people because you just can't, you don't want them to go home unhappy.
No, you know too much. That's the problem.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. But because you know what you know, you assume it's easy for all of us to assume everybody knows. Right. And they don't.
I'm looking forward to going to your site when it's up and running because we're going to need to buy all that stuff to deploy.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you look at the MDU business, that's just, right now our first client who came to us through our dev site, no less, 200 water leak sensors in 200 condos in 2 buildings. And he was sitting there going, if this can be managed through a portal, like a dashboard basic portal that my maintenance people can get a leak detected signal, that's it. There's water detected on the probes underneath the hot water tank. Yeah. It costs him $20,000 per leak in a condo building because the floor of the condo that has it leaks and the one below it leaks.
Yeah. Wow.
So you think about who gives a shit about how much it costs you to do it.
Right.
So that's for you, and it's just perfect. I mean, if you're putting that coverage into a building, and let's just say you put an inexpensive LoRaWAN gateway that covers that MDU for $300-$400, and your vet group installs it, then all they do is buy it and log it in and put the portal in with the mobile app and scan the QR codes on the back of the sensor, and they're up and running in 2 minutes.
Right.
That's how simple it's got to be.
Right. Absolutely. It's got to be that simple. Right. You're right. That's the goal of the portal thing I've been building. Step 1 was just kind of get that e-commerce part working. Step 2 is, it needs to be kind of your central home for that building, for the tenants, the property manager, owner, that kind of thing. For all that stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a guy who owned 60 Subway restaurants, and I was talking about all kinds of sensors, and I didn't realize like how much money and food is left in the refrigerators and freezers overnight at a Subway. And you sit there going, so you don't have any sensors on the refrigeration units or the freezer units? He goes, no, why would I do that? And I said, well, first of all, it's illegal, Most health departments want to know that the refrigeration of food temperature is at, and you have to report that. I said, but the other thing is, leak sensors. And he goes, hey, do you have a light switch sensor? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, when I lock the manager's office at the subway stations, I want to know if any of my employees went into the office when I'm not there. And I just need to know if they just turn the light on, if they're in my office or not. I'm like going, oh my God, that's like a $6 sensor. Seriously? You want to know about that? He goes, hell yeah, I want to know. So we, right. I mean, you and I just don't think about those kind of things until you start to talk to people about their use case needs in those kind of building situations.
Yeah. Our buddy Steve Cannon, who came on one time.
Yeah, right.
That's his whole deal is just putting in temperature sensors in walk-in coolers and freezers.
Right. Big business, Rob.
It is.
Because I didn't realize that if the refrigerator goes out or a freezer goes out in your restaurant, like you can't file an insurance claim because it's not like an act of God or anything else. It's like, your refrigerator broke down. It's like,
or some employee left the door open.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's how you make. That's how you make money, man.
That's right.
The Blippies stuff.
Exactly.
It's like Blippy. You know what I'm saying? It's just you watch it and you go, "There's no way in hell I want to do that. Right. I want to do all the intellectual and all the use cases from Harvard University and all this." stuff that might get you on stage at a friggin' tech conference, but it's the friggin' Blippy stuff, man.
All right, back to business here, Mr. Brummer. All right. No. Well, no, seriously. Let's talk seriously about. Let's do a walkthrough. We're in MDU. We're going to put out. We have a network. We've got wired and we've got Wi-Fi everywhere. You are still. Did I hear you? Would you still advocate using LoRa stuff inside that building, or would you say I should piggyback on the existing network that's already in place?
Well, the thing, so the answer is yes, Rob, and that's a great question, because if you look at the pricing of the Wi-Fi sensors that you would have versus the LoRa WAN sensors that are out there, the answer would be, okay, it's pretty comparable. It's not bad. You can do that. And yes, it would be there. But think about the provisioning piece of that. Now you have Wi-Fi modules that are, how are you going to control that off of your mobile app as easily as you would off of a separate LoRaWAN based mobile app? So it really becomes the usability differences. Plus, that the data going from the sensor to the LoRaWAN gateway is encrypted. So anybody that's going to start to ask you about security and privacy issues are going to be, you're able to at least provide a technical answer to them on the LoRaWAN side. And it penetrates. I mean, if you have a 5 gig Wi-Fi system in there, or go to Wi-Fi 6, you may not penetrate the cinder block walls and the rebar walls in some of these MDUs. Whereas the 915 on the LoRaWAN will go into the basements and cover any of the commercial needs you may have. Like in our building here is washing machines and dryers in a common area. All the way in the back in the basement. I mean, if you want to put a leak sensor under there as the facility manager, LoRaWAN works a lot easier than Wi-Fi.
Okay, those are good points. I mean, I think
how does it penetrate into basements?
So it's running on unlicensed 915 spectrum. So 900 megahertz penetrates rebarb and concrete a lot better than Wi-Fi does at 5. If you're running anything, other than 2.4 to 5, I mean, it's a harder penetration.
But that depends on how close the gateway is.
Totally agree. Absolutely, Bill. Big assumption. Correct.
Now, exactly. If I had APs in every single unit,
different ballgame.
Then maybe I wouldn't care.
That's correct.
Well, yeah, that's the cool thing about some of these converged APs that we saw at IoT this year.
Right.
What's the name of that company?
TechTelit. It wasn't TechTelit. It was.
We can give them props and can't do it because I can't remember the friggin' name.
Because I have a leak detection thing here at the house from Phyn, PHYN. Because I got it because Stacy Higginbotham and I were doing some kind of competition to show which ratings
which house is more automated.
They gave us all these products and then we reviewed them and everything. And so I have a Wi-Fi based Phyn thing, and you just put it in the. It was really fun to install too. Not.
Well, okay. So why was it not fun?
Well, I don't want to. Wow, this is going to go out over the airwaves. I think Stacy couldn't get hers to install right or whatever. I got mine to work, but because you turn off your water, you're going under the sink. All you have to do is go to one in your house, apparently, and then you unscrew all this stuff, and then you put in there things that go kind of in line with it, and then they've got their sensors on there, and then they're connected. And see, here's the thing, and you can tell me if I'm. It seems like a lot of these home products, like this one in particular, are just Wi-Fi by default, because they assume the only thing they can count on that a homeowner has is Wi-Fi.
Correct.
That's a fair assumption, I guess. Ish.
Absolutely is. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and lots of them come with an app, or better than that, I just get text messages. Is really what you need, the notification.
Correct.
Yeah, it was a real pain in the butt, but nothing's easy. Obviously, you got to get that thing in line because it's sensing the pressure of water going through and changes that. It even messages me when there's like too much pressure, like your whole system is over pressurized with water and things like that. It's really interesting.
Is it sensing the pressure or the flow?
Probably both. It's been so long since I put it in. I have to go back and read what it's doing.
I've seen a lot of them not only coming with Wi-Fi support, but BLE, Bluetooth as well, which from my perspective, I would trust that above the Wi-Fi. Unless you've got your Wi-Fi prioritized, right? So you've got some level of QoS running on all of that.
But you can't assume the average homeowner has that. People don't
That's
know
correct.
what that is.
Yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, but to the point is of ease, and that's what I was saying. That's why I think all of this stuff is kind of gone from the Best Buys, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, and all of that. Is that it's not an easy thing just to bring this thing in and all of a sudden I'm going to just have it integrate and interoperate throughout my house. There's only a few that I've seen that can actually do that well.
Well, I mean, if you look at the downfall, Bill, and you bring up a great point, it was the non-conformity for platforms. Right. I bought a Hughes Phillips Light system and I'm using their app. Then I got to buy this app and use this subscription to do this. And exactly DIY.
It's like we all went from cable to 20 different streaming services.
It's exactly right. Give me Xfinity. I'm okay. I don't give a shit about the other stuff because I come here and my son is on every streaming situation known to mankind. And I'm like going, can I just see a baseball game? Like how the hell do you do that? So, I think that's the downfall of DIY, right? Because it has not been simple and easy to be able to do with disparaging products. And I think that in order for the consumer markets to truly embrace IoT, and remember, 50% of consumer IoT products, whether it's Nest thermostats or Ring or security products, are bought by women that are not technically capable sometimes to do it. They're buying it I got to secure myself. I get in my first apartment. I got to buy Simply Safe. I got to, blah, 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 blah. So you got to think about the average consumer in the DIY programs that are out there. But remember, that's also where Matter came from, right, Rob? So when you look at CSA and what they did from the Zigbee Z-Wave scenario, and they all went to Matter thinking that will be a cure. And you think about, you look at the companies that are backing them. I mean, you're talking about, every major company in the world of consumer electronics is going with Matter as well. And then you look at, eventually you're looking at Sidewalk, right? So, I
don't know. Okay. So that triggers me right there. Okay, because
that's what IoT Coffee Talk is all about.
The biggest, I'm sorry, look, everyone, the biggest crock of bullshit is we're going to have a standard that unifies everything. Yeah. Get out. Hey, look, I tell you what, right? The first person that ever came to me and said, all you need to do, I'm like, don't let the doorknob hit you with a good Lord split you. Get the hell on. Because, look, when we talk about standards, and I know we've said this 1,000 times on IoT Coffee Talk, it's not the standard as it's written. It's the implementation of the standard.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if it were, that's what all these quote-unquote plug fests were about. Let me show you how well it works. Okay, so let's just take a prime example of what you were saying right there, right? Everyone says they're going to go to Matter. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's just at the protocol layer. That protocol itself is not going to solve the problem that you're going to have in the stack overall. It's going to say, we can talk to each other. Okay, and how is that secure?
Yeah.
And how does it do all of that and maintain security, maintain reliability, maintain redundancy, all of these other things that truly matter. All of these things that truly matter.
Yeah.
That one got past you guys.
Yeah. Let's take
a prime example. distributed energy resources want to be controlled and managed by either the utility or a solution provider. Okay, let's just take the typical house that has solar, has an EV charger, and storage. The utility says, I want to make sure that I can give you messages. I want control messages to curtail your energy consumption. You have to talk OCPP, that's what your electric vehicle talks to the charger. You have to talk 2030.5, that's what your PV talks. And you have to, and how are you going to control all this? Because these things are connected to the residents' Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about Wi-Fi what? A, B, C, A, X, N. I mean, I don't know how all of these things happen, but we've got a standard and it's going to go.
Yeah, and even for the fluffy stuff, that's like the hardcore, like down at the infrastructure of your, like smart home level. Even the fluffy stuff above, it's friggin', short of a retrofit of all the stuff that you already have, it doesn't solve a lot of problems. In fact, at CES, I was talking to the Schneider guys about this because they were talking about how Matter doesn't solve everything. We actually, for all the smart homes that have already been sold out there, you have a guess what? A brownfield problem. And so the value of Matter and the interoperability that it brings into a household is actually very limited. And so what the Schneider guys are doing is creating a middleware. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And basically another management dashboard layer to broker all the connections in the home. And Matter is just like what you said, Bill. It's just another protocol, but it still has to be orchestrated with everything else. But hey, I want to give a shout out to RAK Wireless. That was the company I couldn't think of. So they have this all-in-one 5G Wi-Fi, that converged thing that they brought. You and I were there. And it's actually quite a beautiful looking gateway. That's what I was talking about.
There's several of them that have built all-purpose LoRaWAN combo gateways out there and routers. So, and I think that, I think the pricing has just gotten to the point now where you can lowball that and put every chipset you want inside that thing. Right. So you stuff it.
Yeah.
But go.
Go.
What?
Let's bring it all the way back to Best Buy with Mr. Brummer.
He's going to bring it back to Blippies.
Maybe the M word is the answer. Maybe managed service. Because to your point, Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's, they all used to have this home IoT stuff, and it seems to have disappeared. And maybe it's because it's just too hard for people to install. And you're right. Can you even if you had Matter, that still didn't get you around the fact that you're having to crawl underneath your sink and disconnect pipes and put in stuff, or putting in a Nest thermostat. You're unscrewing things on your wall and putting it in there. I did that with my son, but not everybody can do that. So maybe it is a managed service. I think of a company like Vivint, the solar and all the other stuff.
Yep.
Maybe that's the secret sauce.
Well, I think it does come down to that, Rob. At one point in my conversations with Best Buy, saying, "Okay, you got this Geek Squad group out here. Well, why can't they be the ones that are ultimately doing it, right?" Well, the issue becomes is that you can buy a kit of sensors for your home with that are either Wi-Fi enabled or whatever. And then you're paying like 4 times as much for these idiots to come in and install this in Maine, and you still have to do it, right? So you're still running into how do you do? I mean, I've been working with a couple, I'm not even going to bring their names up, 2 nationwide field service outsource companies, very similar to, and Rob, I want your connection to the vet group because you brought that up and I wrote it down. I want to make sure you give me that connection in there because at some particular point you have an MDU and someone's going to have to come out and do a site survey and an install. of an IoT related program. And I'll give you an example. The 200 units for the sensors for the water leak sensor. I have helium coverage. I'm not sure if I have any other coverage. I have no idea how many gateways I'm going to need in these buildings. How am I going to do that? Who do you call?
Me.
Yeah.
You'll do a LoRaWAN site survey and map out and tell me where the LoRaWAN gateways go in that building.
Absolutely. I don't care what the technology is. The method behind it is it's 100% a spectrum. It's a spectrum thing. That's why I was asking about how are you sure that this 900 gets down inside the basements? You're going to need, somewhere along the way, you need an extra hop in a lot of instances, which means that you're going to have to put something downstairs, really below, you're going to have to put something there that's going to allow the handoff of those. Here's another example. When you talk about those types of services, you can have a dwelling unit that has multiple APs. Rob, to your point, you have APs all over the place. Okay, well, here's a challenge. It's RF, right? It's not going to change. So how do you deal with handoffs, especially when so in some instances you have to turn either the RX or TX down on one to kind of get a full equilibrium of the APs and the AP performance. So when you do a site survey, you have to understand, well, here's the best location based on the RF propagation study that tells you this is where the devices go. So then once they're fully installed, now you have to walk through and you have to make sure that everything is properly adjusted for a level of reliability.
Mm-hmm. So, Rob, when you're going to that MDU and you're doing your program, how are you deciding on how many APs you put into those buildings today?
Well, I'm not doing those installs, but right now it's, the whole building gets wired and then there's APs in the hallways. There's RF engineers who are doing it. And then the AP, they had been doing like one AP per unit, just to give more love to more companies, I guess, inadvertently. We switched to Eero.
Right.
It just worked. Worked. We were using really expensive high-end APs, and these Eeros are better and they're cheaper.
Yeah.
So, but those ends, they just work.
I have Eeros in all my places. I agree with you. But again, so one of the
we're not doing anything that Bill's talking about. We don't have people tweaking RTX, and none of that's happening.
I agree, but if we are to bring IoT into the BMS world other than Schneider and Honeywell, we have got to address coverage and how many access points and gateways we need to install in order to provide 100% coverage for doors and windows and water leaks and light sensors and Nest thermostats and all this other stuff that we want to be able to control in the building, or like you said, on the mobile app. And there is no nationwide IoT site survey install company that you can rely on today that I have found, and I am interviewing them all the time. Unless Bill wants to, because Bill, you got. So I'm going to only want to pay you $300 for a building in South Florida to do a site survey.
Yeah,
that's it. $300.
Wow.
Yeah, you mentioned helium. I just got triggered by that, so I looked at the price of helium, which is basically crap. Just want everyone to know, we called it at the height of helium, that this shit would just go to hell, and it's stuck in hell.
But wait a minute. Let me ask just one question here, because Steve, to your point, Rob, to your point. Does anyone think noise floor?
Noise floor?
What's that?
No.
Okay, so you start to put a number of devices out that are all talking on the same frequency and everything like that. You raise the noise floor, which means that you're going to have an interference. So this whole thing about just pop them in and they just work at some point is going to work against you.
Okay, so let's take helium, for example. We have 500,000 miners out there on the helium side at 915 unlicensed spectrum. Do we know what the noise floor is on those things? Because, I mean, they're freaking everywhere. I mean, do you know what the noise floor is? If you ever want to see the greatest coverage in the United States, go look at the Amazon sidewalk coverage map. Okay,
so that right there is
sick.
It is absolutely. We can have a whole nother conversation on that.
But again, listen, we all make money when the massive IoT world hits, right? I mean, we've always said that volume is going to drive our revenue. If we can't figure out coverage situations for MDUs, for small office buildings, for restaurants, for commercial buildings, we're screwed. It's just not going to be the way, because not everybody is Schneider and Honeywell and BMSs that are putting in huge crews with huge dollars available to do that. You know, the Mr. and Mrs. restaurant owner that needs 10 sensors in the restaurant and needs to know if they have coverage, public coverage or private coverage, or going off of Wi-Fi, they are as important as the large office commercial building. So we do have a whole that I'm seeing now more than ever is who the hell do you call for IoT site surveys and installs that is going to be cost effective?
Ghostbusters.
Well, I mean, if there was Ghostbusters IoT and they could do it, I would welcome that if it wasn't a rip-off price.
I mean, I think it's got to be predicated by what the square footage is and how difficult the environment is.
But we're dealing with facility managers, Bill, that are idiots, right? They fix water. They have big hammers and big screwdrivers. They're not wireless people. They're not understanding it. And I'll give you one. I can only find 2 manufacturers of LoRaWAN test equipment.
Ooh. That's true.
In the world. 2.
That's true.
Wow.
And Robin, you should see the software sucks. I'm trying to put a heat map together for a building to be able to say that I need these 3 LoRaWAN gateways located in these particular areas. Unbelievably horrible.
Could be an opportunity. I mean,
of course,
and because everyone's so fixated on just coverage and implementation. I'll tell you the reason why the Schneiders and the Honeywells get all the business is because the idiot whatever facility managers, as you put it, they trust them. There's a lot more that goes into it than LoRa and all this bullshit that we talk about on IoT Coffee Talk, which doesn't sell all that great because you know what? You're right. It's these quote unquote, I'm not going to, you characterize that. I didn't. Idiot facility managers, and you guys know you're not idiots. You guys are the customer.
My name is Steve Brummer. Go ahead.
Yeah. You guys are no, but see, it's easy to forget who the customer is and who are the key influencers in the buying decision. Correct. And people who are technical don't see the bigger picture, and that's why when I go to these conferences and I listen to customers,
that's right.
I come in and I go and I listen to IoT. Panels. There's such a disconnect. It's like not even funny. It's like, guys, you guys are engineers geeking out on stuff that these guys don't give a shit about. And also, there's this huge gap between what you are coming to the table with and offering, which is very, very thin, and what the Honeywells and the Schneiders come
Johnson Controls
ready and packaged to go, and stuff.
Stanley Black and Decker,
cybersecurity first. They're investing a shit ton in that. So
but again, that's a segment of the market that I agree with you. Those guys are really good at building dashboards with portals and fancy color lights and everything integrated between Otis and all the, everybody that's there.
Not just that, they can bring the solution to
totally agree.
And it can be holistic with security, with all of the, building management functions, the full stack, the devices, even though a lot of times they don't make them.
Yeah, but Leonard, 70% of the businesses and use cases are with small, medium-sized businesses or consumers. And in order for us to get the massive IoT, and I don't give a shit what network it's on or
about massive IoT.
Exactly. Well, I mean, massive quantities of IoT.
Who cares about that? Solve problems. Because if you bring it to a certain level of value and you price for it, you will find a business. Anything underneath it is just a bunch of people struggling to sell technology that nobody wants.
Yes. Oh, well, listen, I brought it up this morning with a prospect client. I mean, if you're not following the Amazon working backwards model of trying to solve understand what the end user wants and what the problem is, and then find it.
What Bill is talking about is go and do the site survey, understand what it takes to implement durable solution, something that's going to last, that you don't have to, worry at night that this thing might actually do what the guy who sold it to you says that it does.
Well, that and the other idea, an idea that in some, these battery sensors are now going 5-10 years. I mean, so you have to build a solution that is foolproof for 5, 7, 10 years. I mean, that's different than anybody else is used to.
And then your little database of all your devices, you need to have those dates in there so that a maintenance person or whoever knows when to go out and check.
That's right.
You know how we put solutions out there and then people just kind of forget about it?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the dashboards. I mean, I'm looking at a dashboard, from a company called Call Pass out of Clearwater. I mean, they put that in there. This hot water heater was replaced on this such and such a date, and we have a leak sensor there, but blah 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 blah, because now it's also tied to your insurance policy and your homeowner's insurance for Florida. You got to be replacing your hot water heater X amount of years in order to get homeowner's insurance. So,
are you talking about asset management?
I was just about to say
okay. Bring it back down to the basics.
Yeah, a lot of people have that on spreadsheets.
Right. And then Rob, I would assume that you're on your mobile app, you're looking at a QR code scenario to provision some of that stuff.
Yeah. We will. I don't have it yet, but we will.
I mean, but if it wasn't for QR code as the simple way to be able to provision an IoT sensor, we would be screwed.
That's why you see so much Bluetooth on these sensors, because a lot of them will have you use an app and make a Bluetooth connection from your smartphone to provision
Correct.
The big wireless part. Yeah.
That's right.
So go ahead, Steve.
I'm just saying that, that is one of the reasons why we do what we do at IoT Coffee Talk, and I do at IoT Nuggets and everything else like that. The education piece for the people that are in our industry is still critically important for us to be able to survive. And the education piece is what drives so many discussions. I mean, I'm amazed at how much education we all four have to do on a regular basis for people that we talk to within our segments. And I think that's what's exciting about the industry too, right? It's our responsibility to keep up with the technology and to dummy it down and simplify it for the stupid people that are out there so they understand how this technology can work for them, right? I mean, they don't know. They don't understand things like this out there that can help them in a lot of different ways.
So you know what? There's a guy who posted on Ferry, our friend at McKinsey, Ferry.
Oh yeah.
Post, and he was calling everyone stupid. I said, no, just ignorant. Everyone's ignorant by default. Stupid. You gotta work on that. You have to work on it really hard to be stupid. It's easier for some other people, but yeah.
So this time next week, 3 of us will all be on stage in Denver at Mountain Connect talking about, what are we talking about, Bill?
We are talking about the equity in the room, other underserved communities.
All right.
Ag, rural, broadband connectivity. You don't have to bring fiber to the farm. There are other solutions.
That stuff.
There is.
I wonder if there's a way we could broadcast that live. Have a camera pointed at us, and we're broadcasting it on Coffee Talk Live somehow.
Okay. Why not?
Why not?
It would be fun.
Let's talk to Jeff.
I think you guys should do that. That would be awesome.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it at Applied Intelligence.
That's right. We are. That's right.
Well, I haven't even looked at that. I'm so underwater. I don't even know where I am. Oh my God.
And then I just thought about, Rob, where the hell are we staying? Because it's not downtown in Austin. It's now at this other facility on the other side of the river.
Right.
So,
okay.
So we do have to figure that part out too.
Yeah, you're right.
But, and the other thing, Bill, ATSC 3.0 for rural. Think about all the TV coverage that's in rural America. We can send gigabytes of data down through the TV signal to those rural broadband use cases up there. So that's another option for you that we have. And Denver's got full, complete coverage of that. I can go from Boulder to the airport and everywhere else off of one TV tower and send gigabytes of data simultaneously.
No. Is this the same as TV white space, or is it different?
No, different.
Okay.
It's actually
we should learn about that. That's cool.
It's like
we're going to have to make sure we talk about really unique, because as we've been to this event many years, everybody there is always talking about rural connectivity and all that stuff. That's like what the whole conference is about. So we have to be careful that what we say isn't, people aren't going, yeah, we've been talking about that for 10 years. You know what I mean? We got to.
Right. And so for everybody that's out there, what's the name of the conference and when is it? And can anybody go?
Yeah, Mountain Connect. It's going to be in downtown Denver at the Denver Sheraton next week.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, great agenda.
Yeah.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, it's always, they used to do it in the mountains up there in the Rocky Mountains, and it was all about rural broadband and how to get around that and that challenge. And all the WISPs were there too. And so everybody there is already super educated about the problem and how to solve it. So we're going to have to make sure we're coming up with something unique.
They're educated about the problem.
Well, they're there with solutions too. They're there with solutions too, and they are. That's the whole point of that event.
Yeah.
And all the vendors who are selling those solutions are there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll have to be nuanced, I think.
That'll be cool.
That's another thing, Leonard. I was thinking that we at BHIoT Group actually do a yearly Excel spreadsheet of all the IoT shows that we know of. There should be something that we do with IoT Coffee Talks, and so many people are hitting the website and doing that we actually say where we're going to be and when we're presenting or what shows we're going to, so they can meet up with us. And we can do some more of that live stuff.
You know what? That's a good idea. And
every once in a while, I come up with one. It's not
that's a great idea. So ATSC 3.0. No, that's a good one. I mean, I just know that they've been trying to work on that problem for a decade already.
I am all over it. It's
I think it has great potential, especially with a lot of advancements in the encoding and decoding. And
that's correct.
Yeah.
We got it down to a Sony chipset now. That's really
they're really looking at it as making multicast and 5G broadcast the actual thing, finally, after all these years. So you're right. None of this stuff is really net new. It's just been struggling technology.
Yeah. And we just put an RFP out for box developer kits for it also, just trying to get it out. So it's
cool.
Really cool. So excellent.
Who wants to take us out?
David Vasquez, where you at?
He did such a good job, he quit.
What happens? That's what happens. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this episode of IoT Coffee Talk, partially live from beautiful Santa Monica, California. Woo, look at that guy, basketball hero. Woo. we're here to elevate our kids. We'd love for you to donate. Go to elevateourkids.com. Give a donation. We're getting laptops and some connectivity in those kids' homes. Underserved.
And you get an IoT Coffee Talk T-shirt.
IoT Coffee Talk T-shirt is the merch is critical. I mean, like you go to rock concerts all the time, and you're getting that merch. Well, you got to get our merch too, because this is critical stuff. We got to help these kids. That's why we do this thing. We do talk a lot about IoT, a lot of wireless stuff, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Well, I mean, our backgrounds are huge, so when it comes to that, so it's fun.
That's a good point. So check us out on IoTCoffeeTalk.com to watch the videos on YouTube. Go to wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to us while you're doing your run every morning. Right. And some of us will see you live next week at Mountain Connect in Denver, Colorado.
Awesome.
We are out.
All right. Bye, guys.